Alta, alta es la luna cuando empieza a esclarecer. Y yo hermosa y sin ventura nunca llegué a nacer. Y yo hermosa y sin ventura nunca llegué a nacer. Mis ojos se hincharon de tanto mirar la mar. Vapóricos van y vienen, letra para mí no hay. Vapóricos van y vienen, letra para mí no hay. Con él, la una que arrollada dos, la otra que hecha después, la una que arrollada. Mi madre hizo colada, lo metió a detener. Mi madre hizo a detener. Na, 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 في الحب زمان الوصل بالأندلسي لم يكن طيفك إلا قلما في الكراء وخلسة المختلس جادك الغيث إذا الغيث هما يا زمان الوصل بالأندلسي لم يكن طيفك إلا قلما في الكراء وخلسة المختلس يا أهيل الحي من وادي الغضا بفؤادي مجلس أنت به ضاق عن صدري بكم رحب الفضاء لا أبالي شقه من غربه أهوار المقلة معسول لما جال في النفس مجال النفس سدد السهم وسمى ورمى بفؤادي نبلة المفترس جادك الغيث إذا الغيث هما يا زمان الوصل بالأندلسي لم يكن طيفك إلا قلما في الكراء خلسة المختلس جادك الغيث إذا الغيث هما يا زمان الوصل بالأندلسي لم يكن طيفك إلا قلما في الكراء خلسة المختلس
שיר למעלות, אשא עיניי אל ההרים, מאין יבוא עזרי, עזרי מעם השם, עושה שמיים וארץ, אל ייתן למות רגליך, אל ינום שומרך, הנה לא ינום ולא ישן שומר ישראל, השם שומרך, השם צילך, על יד ימינך. יומם השמש לא יככה וירח בלילה, השם ישמורך מכל רע, ישמור את נפשך, השם ישמור צאתך ובואך מעתה ועד עולם. שיר למעלות, אשא עיניי אל ההרים, מאין יבוא עזרי, עזרי מעם השם, עושה שמיים
Okay, Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Shabbat Shalom. This is Hakham Melech ben Yaakov of the World Alliance of Qara'im, and I am broadcasting to you from pretty much close to the northern border of Israel. I'm in Katzrin, in the Golan Heights. I'm up here for Shabbat because I am still finding a permanent place to live, and Katzrin is a place I'm strongly considering. And I've had such a nice Shabbat so far. The community here has just been so welcoming. I mean, Shabbat Shalom, mighty boy. They invited me over their houses. They're just very friendly, very welcoming, very open. The food was delicious. And so I'm really having a nice time here. And I'm really strongly considering moving here. I'm really strongly considering moving here. And I will keep you guys all updated. One of the things that has been delaying figuring out Shabbat Shalom, Maria Nana Mignana, one of the things that has been delaying my deciding, well, I've been in Israel now, or I returned to Israel on June 5th, 2024, so almost 2 months ago. And I've been trying to find my place here since then, and it has not been easy. I've been living with, well, I don't know if I can call them friends anymore. Former friends that I've had a lot of problems with. I won't get into any details. It's not relevant right here. But those of you who know me and speak to me on a personal basis, what I'm talking about. And really, what I've been trying to do is find the right place to be, not just for myself, but for the Karaite community, for the World Alliance of Qara'im community. Because as soon as I do find that place, I will be making an announcement that this is where we're going to start our World Alliance of Qara'im, our first World Alliance of Qara'im community. So I'm trying to find something that is good not just for myself, but I think will be good for the community as well. And Katzrin, in many ways, is actually excellent because it has a lot of the elements that are good for a community. First of all, it's not too big, it's not too small. Jerusalem is great. There must be a Karaite, a World Alliance of Qara'im community in or around the Jerusalem area at some point, but it's big, it's expensive, it's a bit overwhelming. And the place that I was staying around Jerusalem it's pretty open, but you still have to, if you want to, let's say, buy a house in that place where I was staying, you still have to go through an acceptance process and through they call it the Yeshuv, the settlement governing board. And I don't know if they'll allow or if they will accept Qara'im. Who knows? Maybe so, maybe not. But Katzrin, where I'm right now, it's beautiful. It's up near the northern border. And it's a small city. There are many, many surrounding, even smaller kind of towns where people can rent. People can buy houses if they want to buy houses, or they can come here and they can start renting. And then after they've rented a place for a while and it's not too expensive to rent here, it's gotten extremely expensive in Jerusalem and in the Jerusalem area. They can come here. You can rent an apartment. You can even rent a house for a reasonable price. And then when you're ready to buy, you can buy a house. And then also there's a lot of open land. So eventually what we could do is we could set up our own Karaite, our own World Alliance of Qara'im settlements, our own World Alliance of Qara'im Yishuv settlement, where it's like our own town. It's our own Karaite town. And then maybe some people can live in Katzrin, in the city, in the small city, and some people can live out in the town. So I think this is a very, very, very good place perhaps to start the community. The only maybe disadvantage of it, really the only disadvantage of it, there are two disadvantages. Number one is that it's far away from Jerusalem. So it's kind of, I'm not used to it. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's just all the time I've ever lived in Israel has been in Jerusalem, and Jerusalem is the center of everything, obviously. And it's far away from Jerusalem. It's about a 2.5 hour drive from Jerusalem, but it's not that big deal. It's not that big a deal. People go down to Jerusalem all the time. And we could have regular trips down to Jerusalem. We could do all kinds of things as a community in connection to Jerusalem. And we can eventually set up another community in Jerusalem. And then people who want to live here in the Golan Heights can live here. And then people who want to live in the Jerusalem community could live there. and maybe that's the ideal situation. And who knows, if that takes off, then maybe we can set up a even a third community and a fourth and a fifth and a 10th, and God knows what. We'll see where it all goes. But this is what has really been delaying me. It's been about 2 months, and I have not found the place where I think that Yahweh wants me to be. Shabbat Shalom, Edin Larange, Lirange. I know who that is. I know all my little nicknames now. I'm getting used to it. So, but this is a place that I'm strongly thinking about. I really think it might be a good place to start this community. It's beautiful up here in the Golan Heights. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's hot in the summertime and it's humid. It actually reminds me of New York, where I grew up, which is fine in a good way, right? But I think it's a really good place to start a community. There's a lot of nature. It's a very welcoming, open community. It's a city, but it's a small city. The total population of Katsrin is about 10,000 people. So it has all the things you need in a city, but on a very small scale, which means, again, that you don't have to ask anyone whether you want to buy a house here, whether you want to rent here, right? There's no kind of acceptance process as there might be in some of the smaller yeshuvim that I was looking at around Jerusalem. It's not overwhelming like Jerusalem. And that's it. Again, maybe the two disadvantages are that it's far away from Jerusalem, and the fact that now there is activity on the northern border. We don't know where that's going to go with Hezbollah. All day long here, you can hear the fighter jets flying overhead. I haven't experienced it yet. I've now been in Katsrin since Friday. I was here also about month and a half ago. And I didn't experience any of it, but there are missiles that come in from Hezbollah. There are drones that come in from Hezbollah, and so there have been some incidents like that. You know, you have the air raid sirens going off, and people run into the bomb shelters, etc. But I think it's a really good place to start a community, and I think my next step here, if Yahweh, if it is Yahweh's will, and I think it is, I'm feeling it, is to rent a place here on a temporary basis for about a month and just really feel it out and see if this seems like the right place. Because again, I feel like I'm not just doing this for myself. I feel like I'm doing this for everyone who wants to join the community as well. I do, and I will consider this community an extended family, an extended family where we all look after each other. We all, we do things together. It doesn't mean every moment of every day. I don't want it to be like some kind of, like some kind of cult, but we're having communal meals together. We're going over each other's houses. We're getting to know each other. You know, we those who have children will feel comfortable, let's say leaving their children with other people from the community for babysitting or having their children play with each other. And then also just being part of the wider community here, which is a very open and welcoming community. There are a lot of English speakers, there are a lot of Hebrew speakers, there are a lot of Russian speakers here, around with their garb, with their long robes and their squirrel hats on their head, their streimels. So it seems like a really nice place to start, and I think it's a good place for individuals to come, for couples to come, for families to come, for young people, Aiden Larange, to come and really feel like they're not overwhelmed by a lot of the craziness that goes on in Israel. Again, aside from what's happening on the northern border, but aside from that, it's very, very relaxed and very mellow here. People are very different here. If you've ever been to Israel, if you've ever visited Israel or lived in Israel, you know that people can be very aggressive. They can be very rude. They can be very obnoxious. They can be very inconsiderate. And a lot of that seems to be completely absent here. The people here, it's like living in a different country almost. And because it's up in the Golan Heights, one of the things I love is that a lot of the things I see here down in Jerusalem, everything is made of stone and everything is desert. Here, a lot of things are made of wood. There's a lot of natural surrounding forest, not right in the Katsrin area, but in the Golan Heights. It's just a beautiful place, let's say, to go for an outing. If you want to take your family, there are plenty of places. There are waterfalls and there are cliffs to climb, and there's a lot of historical sites here as well. And it's also very, very close to a bunch of other cities. I didn't realize how close Katsrin is to a number of other cities, such as Tiberias, such as Tzvat, such as Kiryat Shmone, which unfortunately now is pretty much evacuated because of the war on the northern border. And it's also not so far from Haifa. It's not too far from Tel Aviv. I think from Haifa, it's maybe about an hour and a half or something like that. From Tel Aviv, it's maybe 2 hours. From Jerusalem, it's maybe 2.5 hours. So this might actually be the perfect place to start the community. I'm going to see what messages Yahweh has to give me. He always tells me what he wants from me. And when I ask him, I don't mean he's talking to me. I don't mean there are voices in my head. No, definitely not. I don't mean that I'm a prophet. What I do mean is he puts me in contact with people who give me the information and give me the direction that I need to take to walk in his path. And he also gives me he shows me things that I need to be seen in order to make these kinds of decisions. So that's what I'm thinking. We will see how it works out. Now, in terms of today's study, I'm going to cut it a little bit short because I was planning to do a full, 2-3 hour study, but I'm going to cut it a little bit short. And the reason I'm going to cut it a little bit short is that I want to go back to the community has a very nice synagogue here. It's a synagogue. It's actually down in a bomb shelter, but the community there is extremely nice, extremely welcoming. And I want to go back to them. They invited me for Sudah Shlishit, for what's called third meal, and I want to join them. So I probably will cut it short. Oops, I disappeared because of this weird background thingy. I probably will cut it short. So maybe we'll end it, probably, I don't know, even within the hour or something like that. And if so, then next week I'll try to start a little bit early and we'll have a full Torah study. But if that's the way it is, that's the way it is. At any rate, welcome everybody. I'm so glad you're here. And slowly but surely progress is being made with the ultimate goal of us being able to set up a community, build it and they shall come. A community where really we can treat each other with mutual respect. We can respect our differences of opinion and yet have enough of a continuity, have enough of a what's the word I'm looking for? Have enough of I can't even think of the word right now. Have enough of a coming together where we're not all just off doing our own things, right? That we're actually acting as a community. All right. So with that being said, let's dig into some Torah here. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to continue. Maybe I'm not going to do that today. Maybe I just want to get right into Leviticus because we're not going to have a lot of time. No, let's continue a little bit. I want to continue talking about this issue as to whether the day in the Torah starts at sunset or whether it starts in the morning. And I am, despite the fact that I believe that everyone has the right to express their point of view, and this is really when I established this community, or when I should say took over the World Alliance of Qara'im, because I actually did not establish the World Alliance of Qara'im. It's a long story, but when I took over the World Alliance of Qara'im, it was a basic principle of mine to allow people to express their opinions, to allow people to put their opinions forth, even if they differ with each other, as long as it's done in a respectful way, and as long as it's done with a common goal of trying to come to the truth, and trying to understand the truth, because none of us, especially now in these times that we're so separated in so many ways from Yahweh, that Israel is so separated from its God, none of us 100% knows the truth, and we all should have enough tolerance and respect of each other's opinions to realize that we're all on a search for the truth. Obviously, there are red lines. I always give the example if someone comes along and says, "Hey, let's go worship such and such foreign god," right? This Parshat Pinchas. So the Baal Peor, if someone comes along and says, "Hey," in the group and says, "Hey, let's go worship Baal Peor," that obviously is a red line. And there's some other real red lines. But aside from those red lines, then I strongly believe that people should have the freedom to express themselves, to explore their own path as much as possible, to come with their ideas and with their opinions, and respectfully discuss them, respectfully argue them out, and with a common goal of trying to realize what the truth of God's will is, what the truth of the Torah is. So yes, so with that in mind, let us talk about, and I agree with you, of course, Aiden Larange, sunset to sunset. So why did I say that? I said this because I wanted to say that although I completely allow and respect other people's to express their opinions, that I personally strongly disagree with this idea that the day in the Torah starts from, as is now being expressed by Dr. David Polina, who I say this only in the most respectful way, very knowledgeable person, and some other and some other people. Oh, you're leeching. Is there a good connection here? Can everybody hear me? Can we get a sound check? I just want to make sure because I'm having some problems with the internet right now. Guys, can you hear me? Aiden Orange, can you hear me okay? Whitey boy, can you hear me okay? Can you guys hear me and see me okay? I just want to make sure that we're not losing internet connection here. The connection is messed up. Yeah, I know it. I know it. I know it. There's nothing I can do about it. I'm not in my permanent. I could try to switch over. Hold on. I'm going to switch networks and let's see if this solves it. I may disconnect. Oh, it sounds fine. Connection is messed up. Sounds fine. I don't know what to do. All right. I'll continue and we'll see what happens. If the connection gets messed up, then please let me know. Okay. Actually, let me see if I can try to switch. Let's. Okay, we're back. I don't know if this is any better. Let's see. We're on this. All right, how this works. Keeps freezing, huh? It's good now. It's a little bit better. Okay, I don't know how it works. I don't know. Let's see what happens. We'll give it a shot. Okay, so let's talk about this issue about whether the day starts in the evening or whether the day starts in the morning. I strongly believe that the day starts. Oh, I see it freezing. Shoot. No, it's not good, huh? Good, not freezing. Good, not freezing. Freezing, not freezing. All right, I'll continue with this connection and we'll see what happens. Okay, if it looks like it's freezing, please let me know. Okay, so I believe that the day starts in the evening, not in the morning. I think it's a mistake to think that, and eventually I will set up a debate with Dr. David Polina, but we're not going to do that today, obviously. And I think what I'd like to do, let's see. Let's do this. Let's play a little game here. Does the Hebrew day start in the evening? Let's see. Why do Jewish days believe in nightfall? That's Chabad. We're not going to trust them. Chabad, day begins with the night, from sunset to sunset. When does the biblical day begin? Scholars long believe that. Oh, you know what? Let's do this. Okay. Let me grab David Polina's last post from WhatsApp. Let me grab it and go through it and see what he has to say. And let's see if we can, through that, try to see if we can discuss it and refute it. Okay. Let me just find it here. Let's see. Let's see. Term which is used often easy in context. The same direction of night following the day being. It's not working. Oh, it disappeared. All right, let me read through David Polina's response here. Again, I'm not in any way trying to set up a debate, so this is not in any way trying to go behind his back or something like that. But let me just read through his response and see if we can speak about it a little bit. So he says here, I'm reading the message from WhatsApp. He says, Melech, you're 100% correct that the Torah uses Yom, day, in different ways as a calendrical day date, allegorically, right? And that's what we spoke about last week. We looked at the word day, we looked at the word Yom in the Torah, and we saw that it can mean different things. And we need, I've reset 3 times already, back, have to leave, re-enter, have to leave, re-enter. I hope it's working okay now. And we see that day can mean different things, just like it can in English. We gave the example last week, okay? So, all right, let me just read on. Determining which is in use is often easy in context. And then he said, hello, yaniach mimenu ad boker. Okay, so let me just skip ahead a little bit here. Okay. same direct joining of a night following the day being the same day can also be found in Vayikra 22:30. So let's look for a second. Let's grab that. Let's look at Vayikra 22:30. That's Leviticus chapter 2, verse 30. Here, Leviticus chapter 22, verse 30. Let me share the screen. So Leviticus chapter 22, verse 30. Oh, shoot. So it's not good, huh? All right. Let me go back to the other network here. Let's see if it's any better. Let's see if this is. Let's see if this is any better. All right. I switched back to the other network. I don't know if it's any better right now. Okay. I hope so. If not, we'll just have to cut the Torah study short because there's nothing I can do anyway about this. Okay, can you guys hear me and see me now? Can you guys hear me and see me now? Yes? Okay, then I'll leave it on this network and that's it. Okay, so we are now looking at Leviticus 22:30. Leviticus 22:30. Oh boy, this network is slow too. Jeez. All right, Leviticus 22. Let me just bring it over to the Hebrew here. It really is annoying when there's not good network. And in this day and age, we must demand excellent, high-speed internet connection wherever we are. And if we don't, we have to complain. We have to fight for our right to have high-speed internet connection in every single place on planet Earth. Okay. So we said Leviticus 22:30. Okay. So Leviticus 22 is a bunch of different things having to do with cleanliness and uncleanliness. And here it says in 30, okay, let's start in verse 26. We're going to read these verses here. Okay. Vaydaber Yahweh el Moshe lemor. So Yahweh said to Moses to tell him to say, Shor or keves or ez, yiwaled wahaya shiv'at yamin tachat imo miyom hashemini wahala yiratzeh lekorban ishet liyahweh. In short, what it says is that a baby animal, whether it's a bull or a sheep or a goat, it must remain, or it has the right to remain with its mother for 7 days, and then only on the 8th day can it be brought as a sacrifice. Okay, so this is a law that has to do with kindness to animals. In my opinion, there are many laws in the Torah that have to do with kindness to animals. You don't rip a little baby away from its mother, and it's painful to the baby, and it's painful to the mother as well. Ushor oseh oto ed beno lo tishhatu b'yom echad. And you do not kill a bull or a sheep and its baby on the same day. That also is respect. In my opinion, that has to do with respect. For you don't wipe out a family. You don't commit genocide against an animal family, right? It's sad that we have to have animal sacrifices. I strongly believe that in the future there will be no more animal sacrifices, but this is the way that ancient cultures worship their gods, and the Torah never goes too far away from what human beings are capable of at any given time and place. But that's for another time and another place to discuss that. Verse 29, and when you bring a slaughtering, a thank you slaughtering, a thanks, and thanks, remember, is one of the modes of the peace. Remember, the third type of sacrifice that we studied is the shlamim, the peace or the fellowship offering. And one of the modes of that fellowship offering is the todah. It's a thank you. It's like, hey, God, I just want to check in and say thank you. I want to show my gratitude for all the good things you've done for me. So you may slaughter it and at your will. And then it says in verse 30, and this is relevant to our discussion here, verse 30, "Biyomahu ye'echel lo totiru mimenu ad boker ani Yahweh, u'shemartem mitzvotai v'asitem otam ani Yahweh." Okay, you shall eat it on that day, or biyomahu ye'echel, it shall be eaten on that day. In other words, on the day that you bring the thank you offering, okay, it shall be eaten on that day, lo totiru mimenu ad boker, and you are not allowed to let it sit around until the morning. Why? Why are you not allowed to let this thank you sacrifice sit around until the morning? That would be disrespectful. It's going to start getting rancid. Just like I had a friend or a former friend that cooked or that smoked some fish and then let it sit around for a week and then fed it to me and then got insulted when I wouldn't finish it because it was completely rancid. Okay, you don't let salmon sit around in a refrigerator for 7 days. It actually is dangerous. And likewise, it is disrespectful for Yahweh's sacrifices to let them sit around. These are meat sacrifices. You don't let them sit around for too long because it's going to start going bad, and that is disrespectful to Yahweh's sacrifices. So biyomahu, so on that day, yechel, it shall be eaten. Lo tutiru mimenu ad boker. Do not allow it to sit around. Do not let it to sit. Allow it to sit until the following morning. Literally, it says until morning. And I will do a literal translation so we can see where I'm extrapolating and what the words of the Torah are actually saying. Ani Yahweh. And why is this important? Okay, because we see here that the use of day does not mean from sunrise until sunset. Mauricio, please pay attention here. This is relevant to you. Okay, this is saying, and I will translate. Let me do a literal translation. Biyomahu, on that day. Ba yom hahu, yom is day. Ba yom hahu yechel, on that day it shall be eaten. Lo tutiru mimenu, do not allow it to remain, or do not allow anything to remain of it ad boker, until the morning. Ani Yahweh, I am Yahweh. Okay, so what is clear here, or what this commandment is telling us, is that okay, you go on a Wednesday at, let's say, 3 o'clock in the afternoon or 11 o'clock in the morning. It doesn't matter. You bring your thank you sacrifice. And we know that for a thank you sacrifice, again, is one of the modes of the shlamim, of the fellowship offering, of the peace offering. And for this mode, okay, or for this peace offering, for this type of peace offering, the person who brings it eats part of it. Part goes to the Kohanim. We learned about this back at the beginning of Leviticus. And part of it is eaten by the person who brings it. So this sacrifice is to be eaten by the person who brings it and also by the Kohanim. When? On that same day. But what does it mean on that same day? It doesn't mean before sunset, right? Because it's explicit here. It doesn't mean that if you bring it at 11 o'clock in the morning, it has to be eaten by the time the sun goes down, even though it uses here the word day. On that day, okay? What it says here is that it has to be eaten on that day, and nothing should be left over until the morning, meaning the following morning. So if you eat it before sunset, it's fine. If you eat it at 11 o'clock at night, it's fine. If you eat it at 3:30 in the morning, you want to have a little late night snack, you want to raid the fridge and eat your Thanksgiving offering, not a problem, okay? But once the sun rises in the morning, ad boker, and specifically boker, okay, means the moment that the sun peeks out over the eastern horizon, okay? Boker comes from the underlying Hebrew root to shine, okay? From bakar. Let me just actually clarify that. I don't like to say things that are incorrect. I don't see here, so I'm going to put that with a question mark from what I remember. To properly break forth, to break forth. So there we go. Okay, that's the way they're saying it in the Strongs. Okay, so to break forth. Okay, let's go with that. So boker means the breaking forth, the shining, the initial shining of the sun in the morning. That's what boker means. It's the moment that the sun peaks above the eastern horizon. Okay, and that's once that happens, you are no longer allowed to eat it. This is now the beginning of the new day. But when did the previous day start, and when did the previous day end? Okay, the previous day started at the previous boker, at the previous sunrise, but it didn't end until the following sunrise. So here we have the use of the word yom, which means day. Okay, not meaning from sunrise to sunset, but meaning from sunrise to the following sunrise. Okay, so this is an extended use of the word yom, because the basic meaning of the word yom is from sunrise to sunset. It's the moment that the sun peeks out over the eastern horizon until the moment that the orb of the sun disappears below the western horizon. That is indeed, and I agree with, of course, agree with David Paulina on this. That is the basic meaning of the day of the word yom. That's what yom means. Okay, but in the Torah, as I've said many times, there are basic meanings and there are extended meanings. And extended meanings, there could be multiple extended meanings, and then there could be extended meanings of extended meanings, meaning you can take in a meaning that's beyond the extended meaning, and that could be a further extended meaning, or even a poetic, or even an allegorical meaning. That's the way biblical Hebrew works. It's a very complex. It's very complex. It's layers of meaning, layers of complexity. Not that different from English, as I gave the example last week. Day can mean also a bunch of different things in English, right? Day in its, I mean, it's very similar actually to English. Day in its basic definition in English means also from the time when the sun is out. That's what day means. It's daytime out, right? It means the sun is shining somewhere, unless it's cloudy, right? But by extension, what is a day? A day can mean a 24-hour period, right? Or even poetically, a day can mean, it was a, I don't know, let's say, the day of the day of the day of, I don't know, the day of reckoning or something like that. Okay, that can mean like a period of reckoning, right? So it's not that different from the English. And this is where the mistake comes. This is where, correct, that verse proves that Yom doesn't mean from sunset. Oh, okay, you're right, Mauricio. That you're 100% right. Okay, that verse does not prove that Yom. The first, let me just read what you said. And the verse proves that Yom. Correct. I agree with you 100%. I agree with you 100%. The word Yom can mean different things in different contexts. Okay, my point is that this verse proves that Yom, in this case, means from sunrise to sunrise. Okay, but what we're trying to say, or what many people are trying to say, and I believe what you're trying to say, is that if it speaks about Yom HaShabbat, that we're not supposed to do work on Yom HaShabbat, okay? You're saying, if I'm not mistaken, and David Paulina is saying, if I'm not mistaken, that means from the time the sun rises on Saturday morning until the time the sun sets on Saturday, okay? From sunrise to sunset on Saturday, okay? So what I'm trying to show is that the word Yom doesn't only mean from sunrise to sunset. You're right. In this case, it means from sunrise to the following sunrise. But that already is showing that when the word Yom is used, it does not always mean from sunrise to sunset. Okay, I'll repeat it again to make sure it's clear what I'm saying. Okay, the contention of those who say that, I'll give the example of the Shabbat. The contention of those who say that the Shabbat, that Melacha should not be done from sunrise Saturday until sunset Saturday, is because the word Yom means from sunrise to sunset on the same day. Okay, but right? So what I'm trying to say here is that the word Yom doesn't always mean from sunrise to sunset. In this case, it does not mean from sunset to sunset. It means from sunrise to the following sunrise. It means a 24-hour period. But again, this is because in this particular verse, the extended meaning of Yom that we can derive contextually is clearly from sunrise to sunrise, a 24-hour period from sunrise to sunrise. But that doesn't mean, oh, you think Shabbat should be from sunrise to sunrise? I'm confused. You think so? Let me clarify your point of view. So you believe that Shabbat should be from Saturday morning until Sunday morning? This is what you believe, Mauricio? From Saturday morning until Sunday morning? Is that correct? Waiting for your response. Hello? Okay, all right. I thought you believed that it was from Saturday morning to Saturday night, but it doesn't matter because we'll get to other verses where it's clear that Yom can mean from evening to evening. Okay, and I already showed some verses before, but let's just go through again. I'm bringing some of the verses that David Paulina brings. But the first thing to notice is that the word Yom here is an extended meaning of the basic meaning of Yom. The basic meaning of Yom is from sunrise to sunset. Here we have an extended meaning, and clearly the extended meaning means from sunrise until the following sunrise. And I'll read the verse again. Okay. Bayomahu lo tutiru mimena ad boker ani Yahweh. On that day, it shall be eaten. That the thank you sacrifice shall be eaten. You shall not leave any of it over until the following morning. Okay. So in this case, it's an extended meaning of the word yom, and it does mean in this case 100%. It means from sunrise to sunrise. But that doesn't mean that it always means from sunrise to sunrise. In this case, it means from sunrise to sunrise. And why does it in this case mean from sunrise to sunrise? Because the extended meaning of the word yom can mean a 24-hour period. It's not a set 24-hour period. Depending on the context, it can mean from sunrise to the following sunrise, or it can mean from sunset to the following sunset, or it can even mean other times, some other time to another time, 24 hours later. Okay, so the basic meaning of yom is from sunrise to sunset. It's when the sun is out. The extended meaning is a 24-hour period. In this case, you are correct. The 24-hour period is from morning to the following morning, from sunrise to the following sunrise. Let me just drink for a second. But that's not always the case. When it's a 24-hour period, it's not always the case that it means from sunrise to the following sunrise. And we gave an example last week. And if I remember correctly, that was in, well, let's do this. That was in Leviticus 23, where we saw that the word yom is used to refer to the 24-hour period of evening to evening. Well, why don't we do this? Let's go over, I'm going to grab this word yom. Let's go over to the BDB, which is a very good lexicon. Okay. Okay, so let's grab this. How about this? Here's an example. How about, let's go 1 Kings 19:4. Here's an example of where the word yom does not mean from sunrise to sunrise. Okay, let me bring up the chapter. Let me bring up the entire chapter. This is 1 Kings chapter 19. So I can get the whole chapter up. 19:4. And this is the story of Elijah when he's fleeing Jezebel. I actually just read this morning in the Beit Knesset. It's the Haftorah for this week's Parsha. And it's a very interesting story, but we won't get into the whole thing. But let me start here in verse 1. So we're in 1 Kings chapter 19. Verse 1, Vayagid Achav le'Izebel, and Ahav, that's Ahab. You guys all know King Ahab, right? Not a good king. So you're saying that's Polina's position, but I guess we differ on that. Polina's expressed in the past that he thinks Shabbat should be 12 hours long, but I disagree with that. It should be a 24-hour period. Okay, fair enough. But I would like to show you here, Mauricio, that when the word yom is used, it does not necessarily mean. So you want to say, I'm going to show you here that the word yom does not can mean a 24-hour period, but does not always mean from sunrise to sunrise. Let's look at this. Verse 1, V'yaged Achav le'Izebel, Ahab, King Ahab said to Izebel, to Jezebel, Et kol asher asa Eliyahu, Ahab told Jezebel all that Elijah had done, Et kol asher harag et kol ha'nevi'im b'cherev, and how he had killed all of the prophets of what? Of the Baal, of the false god, the Baal, b'cherev, with sword. Verse 2, Wa tishlach Izebel malach el Eliyahu, and Jezebel sent a messenger to Elijah, lemor, saying, Ko ya'asun Elohim v'ko yosifun. I literally just read this chapter earlier today. So shall God do to you, and even more, ki ka'et machar asim et nafshecha kenefesh echad mehem. This is a very typical Hebrew construct. I'll try to translate into English. So shall be done to you, and even more, if by tomorrow you are not like one of them. What is he talking about? Or what is Jezebel talking about Jezebel sent a message to Elijah saying, "You killed all the prophets of the Baal, of this foreign god, the Baal, and by tomorrow you're going to be where they are. You're going to be dead, just like they are." Okay, and God is going to do this and even more. Okay, or let God do this and even more if you're not dead by tomorrow. Okay, verse 3. So Elijah was scared. Okay, he feared. He got scared, and he arose and he fled for his life. Yavo Be'ersheva, and he came to Beersheba. Beersheba is a very famous place, already going back to the time of Abraham and Isaac. It's already mentioned. Asher Yehuda, which is in the province, in the tribe of, in the territory of Judah. And he left his servant boy there. Okay, verse 4. And this is where it uses the word Yom. I hear the fighter jets up above. I hope I don't hear boom soon. Yom. And he went into the wilderness, a day's journey. Okay. And he came to a place and sat under a rotem. A rotem is a type of plant. In modern Hebrew, the rotem plant is usually translated, I believe it's called the broom bush. I don't know. Again, we would have to sit here and analyze. Here they translated it also as a broom tree. It's just a beautiful, let me actually bring it up. It's one of my favorite plants. It has a beautiful smell. It comes out in the late spring in Israel. Maybe it grows where you are. No, that's not it. That is not a broom bush. That's a broom brush. Let's try a broom bush. There we go. So I don't know if, again, there are all kinds of different interpretations as to what it might mean. We're going to leave that for the academic professors to figure out what the different. Anyway, those are some pictures of the broom bush. It comes out in Israel in late spring, around mid-April, and early to mid-April, and has an absolutely just a mesmerizing smell. At any rate, so I'll finish off the verse, and then I'll explain why this is relevant. Okay, so Elijah's fleeing from Ahab and Jezebel. He runs out into the desert, into the wilderness, and he comes to a certain place and he sits under a broom bush. Okay, whoops, where are we? We're here. Okay. Why yish'al et nafsho lamut? And he wanted to die. Again, I'm paraphrasing here because the Hebrew is yish'al et nafsho lamut. Literally, it means he requested from himself to die. He wanted to die. Yomer ra'arvata Yahweh, and he said, "You've gone too far, Yahweh." Whoops, why is my mouse not working? Okay, whoa, get back your mouse. Ravata Yahweh, you've gone too far, Yahweh. Okay, kach nafshi ki lo tov anochi me'avotai. Take my soul. In other words, kill me. I've had enough. Okay. Because I'm no better than my forefathers. Okay. In other words, you can't expect more from me than my forefathers. You're putting me through all this, and you're expecting something special from me. I'm just a regular dude. I can't put up with all this craziness of Ahab and Jezebel coming after me and threatening my life because I did what you wanted. I did your will by killing off the prophets of the Baal of this foreign god, the Baal. Okay. So why is this relevant to our discussion? Why is this relevant to our discussion? It's relevant to our discussion. Let me close Leviticus 22 for a second. Because in this verse, we have the use of the word yom, okay, meaning a 24-hour period, but it does not mean from sunrise to sunrise, okay? Verse 4, I'm going to read it again. So this is Elijah fleeing from Ahab and Jezebel. V'hu alach b'midbar derech yom. So he fled into the desert for a day's journey, okay? Or for the derech is a journey or a stretch of distance that lasted for a day. In other words, he fled for a day, okay? A day's journey. In fact, let's get a standard English translation for this. Okay, so this is 1 Kings 19. We'll get the NIV. Okay, 1 Kings 19:4. Okay. So Elijah was afraid and ran for his life. When he came to Beersheba in Judah, he left his servant there while he himself went a day's journey into the wilderness. So here we have Mauricio and everyone else listening. Here we have the use of the word Yom in chapter 19, verse 4. Okay, we have the word Yom, and it means a 24-hour period, but it does not mean a 24-hour period from sunrise to sunrise. It doesn't mean that the second that the sun rose over the eastern horizon, Elijah fled into the desert, and then he stopped fleeing into the desert the next day, the next time that the sun rose over the eastern horizon. Okay, so this is an extended meaning of the word Yom, which clearly means a 24-hour or approximately 24-hour period, but in no way, shape, or form implies from this verse that it means from sunrise to sunrise. It just means a 24-hour period. Okay, he could have started at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and gotten to Beersheba. He could have gotten to Beersheba. I'm sorry, he was in Beersheba, and then he fled out into the desert. He could have gotten to the rotem tree, to the broom bush tree, the next day at around 3 o'clock. Okay, so here we have the use of Yom. I'm going to repeat it again because it's so important. The word Yom here means a 24-hour period, but it does not mean sunrise to sunrise. Okay. Okay. And there are many other examples of that. Okay. Maybe we should grab one more. No, it doesn't mean a 12-hour daylight period, because if it's a 12-hour daylight period, Mauricio, then this would imply that this verse means that he started fleeing the second that the sun rose, and then he got out into the desert exactly when the sun set. But that's not the context here. Okay, derech yom, okay, a day's journey. Even if we say it in English, okay, I'm leaving tomorrow at 2 o'clock on my horse, and it's a day's journey until I get to my destination. If I say that, when does that imply that I'm going to get to my destination? It means I'm going to get to my destination the following day at around 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Okay, and that's exactly what this is saying here. And I believe that Dr. David Polina would agree with me on that. Okay, so another extended use of the word Yom is a 24-hour period, not necessarily meaning from sunrise to sunrise. And that is the first hint. That should be the first hint that when we speak about a day in the Torah, it's contextual, and it can mean a 24-hour period, but it does not have to mean from sunrise to sunrise. Okay, in the case of Leviticus 22, okay, that we saw with the Todah offering, we saw with the thank you offering, it meant specifically from sunrise to sunrise. Okay, because that was the context there. We saw that specifically means from sunrise to sunrise, but by further extension, it means a 24-hour period. Okay, so the basic meaning of Yom is a 12-hour period from sunrise to sunset. Okay, an extended meaning of Yom is a 24-hour period, and that 24-hour period, depending on the context, can mean from sunrise to sunrise. It can mean from sunset to sunset, or it can mean from 3 o'clock in the afternoon to 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Okay, let's take another example. Let me see if I can find another one. Denote duration of various other acts or states: 7 days, 40 days, 150 days. Okay, let's see, defined by evening and morning. That's all in Genesis. Oh, day of the month. I don't know. Let's see which one I want to use as an example. Working day. I'm going to pick one randomly. Okay. Day as opposed to night. The day is still high, not near its end. Call it a day. Let's go down here to denote the. Let's go to Genesis. I don't know. Let's go to 1 Kings 8:65, since we're already in 1 Kings. I don't know what meaning is going to be here, but let's take a look. And then I will sum it up by showing a verse again where it clear. Let me do that right now. Let me go to, I believe it's Leviticus 23, if I remember from last week correctly. If we go to Leviticus 23, let me just grab the English for a second. Ooh, I have to get going soon. I think I'm going to cut the study short because I do want to get to the synagogue. But let me just say this point, okay? Okay, so I'm going to read this in the English, okay? And this is what we brought last week. So here we have, okay, so Yahweh said to Moses, The 10th day of the 7th month is the Day of Atonement. Yotz Yom Kippur, Yom HaKippurim. Hold a sacred assembly and deny yourselves and present a food offering to Yahweh. Do not do any work on that day. Okay, and we can look at this in the Hebrew. Don't do any work on that day. So what does that mean when it says don't do any work on that day? Okay, well, it means the 10th day of the 7th month. Okay, that's the Day of Atonement. Don't do any work on that day. So the word day can mean a bunch of different things. Don't do any work on that day. Does that mean a 12-hour period from sunrise to sunset on the 10th of the month? Does it mean a 24-hour period from morning till morning? Does it mean a 24-hour period from evening, from sunset? Or I should say, does it mean a 24-hour period from sunrise to sunrise? Does it mean a 24-hour period from sunset to sunset, which I believe it does, and I'll explain why in a second? Does it mean a 24-hour period from 3 o'clock in the afternoon to the following 3 o'clock in the afternoon, right? We saw that day can mean a bunch of different things. Or does it mean some kind of allegorical meaning, like a period, like an era, an epoch? Well, it clearly doesn't mean that here, okay? We can assume that it either means a 12-hour period from sunrise to sunset, or it means a 24-hour period, and therefore it could either be from sunrise to the following sunrise, sunset to the following sunset, or some other 24-hour period, let's say 2 o'clock in the afternoon to the following 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So it's our job as Karaites, it's our job as Hapseu Shapir Be'oraita, as searching well in the scriptures, the basic motto of Karaism. It is our job to figure out which meaning of day is being spoken about here. But we have some further information, okay? Do not do any work on that day, because it is the Day of Atonement, Yom HaKippurim, when atonement is made for you before the Lord your God. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit, okay? You shall not do any work at all, okay, when on that day, okay? It is a day of Sabbath rest to you. You must deny yourselves when on that day. When is that day? From the evening of the 9th day of the month until the following evening you are to observe your Sabbath. Okay? This clearly proves, this paragraph, this set of verses clearly proves that the word day, and I'm doing it in the English, we can look at it just as easily in the Hebrew, but I'm going to stop the study soon because I want to go to the Beit Knesset. I want to go to the synagogue here in Katzrin. This clearly proves that the word day, okay, in this context, okay, means, it says here, from the evening of the 9th day of the month until the following evening you were to observe your Sabbath. The word day here, okay, is clearly a 24-hour period because it says so. From the evening of the 9th day of the month until the following evening you were to observe your Sabbath. Okay, when is the Sabbath? It's on that day, okay? The 10th day of the 7th month. Let's look at all the occurrences of the word day. The 10th day of this 7th month. But what is the 10th day of the 7th month? It's from the evening of the 9th day of the month until the following evening you were to observe your Sabbath, okay? Blah, blah, blah. Do not do any work on that day. Don't do any work, right? It's like a Sabbath. You don't do work on the Sabbath. When are you not supposed to do work? It doesn't say don't do work from sunrise to sunset. It doesn't say don't do work from sunrise to the following sunrise. It says explicitly in verse 32, from the evening of the 9th day of the month until the following evening you were to observe the Sabbath, okay? Don't do any work on that day. So clearly here, the word day, given its context or given the information or in light of the information that we're, in light, no pun intended, of the information that were given to clarify what the meaning of the word day is here, it's very clear. The word day means from the evening until the following evening. This proves that the word day can mean from evening to evening. Okay? Again, those who do not deny themselves on that day. What is the day? It is from the evening of the 9th month until the following evening. Okay? That's when you're supposed to rest or not do any work. That's when you're supposed to deny yourself, meaning fast. Okay? Those who do not deny themselves on that day must be cut off from the people. I will destroy from among their people anyone who does any work on that day. You shall do no work at all. This is to be a lasting ordinance for the generations to come where you live. It is a day of Sabbath rest for you, a day of Sabbath rest. Okay? It's saying a day of Sabbath rest. When is the Sabbath? This day of Sabbath, when, not the Sabbath, this is Yom HaKippurim. It's being called the Sabbath. It's being called the Shabbat. When is this day of Sabbath rest? From the evening of the 9th day of the month until the following evening, you are to observe your Sabbath. It's clear as day, no pun, this time pun intended, okay? That the word day here means, of course, Yom is mentioned. Mauricio, it's mentioned. It's mentioned how many times in this paragraph? Let's count it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's mentioned 8 times, the word day. And every time it's mentioned, okay, actually, in this case, it's not, because it's clarifying the meaning of the word day in the other 7 times. So of the first 7 times it's mentioned, it's clear that the context is, because we're told explicitly here in verse 32, from sunset on the 9th day, which begins the 10th day, because the 10th day of the 7th month is a holy day of atonement. When is this 10th day of the 7th month? It's explicit here, from the evening of the 9th day of the month into the following evening. When the sun sets on the 9th day, this begins the 10th day. Okay, until the following sunset. This is the 10th day. This is the day that you afflict yourselves. You don't eat. This is the day that is a Shabbat. This is the day that you don't do any work. The day. What does this day mean? It means a 24-hour period starting on the evening of the 9th day of the 7th month and ending on the evening of the 10th day of the 7th month. And it can't be any more clear than that, in my opinion. Okay. But then it clarifies the 9th of the month, which is contradiction of reckon from. No. So let me explain. Okay. I see what you're saying. I believe I see what you're saying. And then I really have to stop the study. I have to get to the synagogue. But let me say this one last thing. Okay. It's from the evening of the 9th day. So what does it mean? In Hebrew, let's look at the Hebrew for a second. And then I'm going to end the study early. I'm sorry. I'm not going to be able to get to the rest of the stuff. We're going to end the study early. But let's look at it very briefly. So this is Leviticus 23:32. Okay. Shabbat Shabbaton hu lechem is a Shabbat of total rest, or it is a total Shabbat. Remember, repetition means emphasis in the Torah. And you shall afflict your souls, which is the Torah's way of saying fast, do not eat, and probably do not drink. Okay. But Tisha lechodesh ba'erev, on the 9th day of the month, ba'erev. What does it mean, ba'erev? The erev, okay, we have to talk about what this word means. The word erev means the point in time when the sun dips below the western horizon. It's what we call in English dusk. Okay, dusk. Again, erev comes from the underlying root ayin resh vet, which means the mixing time. So it's the time that's not quite day and not quite night. Okay, because once the sun sets, it's not completely dark. Once the sun sets, it takes approximately, in most parts of the world that most humans live, takes about an hour until it reaches maximal darkness. Okay, but that moment that kicks off this mixing time is the moment that the sun sets below the western horizon. That's the end of Yom. That's the end of the day in its basic meaning, not in its extended meaning, and the beginning of the mixing period, the 1 hour mixing period where it's not quite day and it's not quite night. So once this mixing period starts, the Torah is saying that this is when we now start celebrating Yom HaKippurim. And when do we do it? We do it on the 10th day of the month. In other words, what the Torah is saying is that once that sun sets below the western horizon, this is now the end of the 9th day, okay, and the beginning of the 10th day. That's all this is saying. It means on the 9th day, once the sun sets below the horizon on the 9th day. Implication, that's when the 10th day starts. Erev ad erev, from sunset to sunset. Okay, tishbatu shabtechem. And actually, I would say this actually doesn't mean from sunset to sunset. I would say it means from sunset on the 9th day until the end of the mixing time. It literally means from the mixing time to the mixing time. Okay, but it really means from the beginning of the mixing time on the 9th day when the sun sets below the horizon, signifying the beginning of the 10th day, until the end of the mixing time on the 10th day, after when the 11th day has already started. Okay, again, the mixing time is not quite the 9th day, it's not quite the 10th day, and this plays out in the language of the Torah. We also see it when we speak about Passover. Okay. No, we also let me just close this. WhatsApp is bothering me. We also see this above. Oh my God. We also see this above when we speak about Passover. Okay, that the Passover offering is to be brought on the 14th day. Bena Arba'im. That's the same way of saying erev. It means between. Bena Arba'im literally means between the mixings. It means from the beginning of the mixing time to the end of the mixing time. In other words, from sunset to total darkness. That's when you bring the Passover offering on the 14th. But then, and that's another proof in my opinion, but I'll get to it another time. At any rate, okay, all this is saying is that once the sun sets on the 14th, okay, I'm sorry, that's Passover. Once the sun sets on the 9th, that signifies the beginning of the 10th day. And from that sunset until the following sunset, or until the following total darkness, that's when Tishbatu Shabtachem, that's when you shall celebrate this Shabbaton, this day of total rest, which is Yom HaKippurim. Okay, Yom HaKippurim. That's what the Torah is saying, Mauricio, and it's quite clear. They shouldn't clarify it if it was common to start it the sunset the day before, right? And that is usually the refutation. But I think that the reason that it's being clarified here, okay, is that for exactly what you're saying, okay, that Yom can mean different things. It can mean different things. We saw it can mean different things. And the Torah, because this is such an important holiday, the Torah wants to clarify which meaning of Yom is meant here. Clearly, I think, okay, the meaning of the word Yom throughout this paragraph is from sunset to sunset. Okay, and the Torah is saying it explicitly here because it's such an important holiday, right? It's the most important holiday one can claim of the holiday cycle. That the Torah is saying, well, we know that the word Yom can mean different things. It can mean sunrise to sunset. It can mean sunrise to sunrise. It can mean 3 o'clock in the afternoon to the following 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It can mean an epoch or an era. It can mean a lot of different things, but we want to make absolutely clear which of the meanings we're talking about here, and that is the meaning of evening until evening, from sunset until the following sunset. That doesn't mean that when it speaks about Yom HaShabbat, that doesn't mean that this is somehow proving that when it says Yom HaShabbat, just because it doesn't clarify that the Shabbat is from evening to evening, okay, and maybe we can even find a clarification. I would have to look through all of the mentions of the word Shabbat. We might find evidence that the Torah actually does show that it's from evening to evening, but for now, let's say that it doesn't. Okay, it doesn't contradict, or it's not a contradiction that just because it explicitly says in the case of Yom Kippurim which meaning of Yom is meant here, that just because it says that it means that the meaning of Yom Shabbat is a different meaning. It could and is also the same meaning. What these verses prove is that one of the meanings of the word Yom is from sunset to sunset. I claim that when it speaks about Yom HaShabbat, when it speaks about the day of the Shabbat, that it is also the same meaning, from sunset to sunset, or more technically, from sunset to total darkness the following day. When it speaks about the other holidays, it's also from sunset to sunset. When I say sunset to sunset, I really mean until total darkness the next day. It's about a 25-hour period. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to say sunset to sunset. This verse proves without a doubt that one of the extended meanings of the word Yom is sunset to sunset. Okay, and it's incorrect to say that just because when it says when the Shabbat says, or when it speaks about Yom HaShabbat, that it doesn't explicitly say from sunset to sunset, that means it's not from sunset to sunset. This is the mistake. This is the flaw. One of the extended meanings of the word Yom is indeed sunset to sunset, and therefore I claim that when it speaks about Yom in general as a 24-hour period, if it's speaking about a holiday or a day where it's not clarified exactly what it means, that it means also from sunset to sunset. Okay? And I'm going to end it with this. They do specify for other feasts. Again, I'm not ignoring the Boker from Bereshit. I've explained before this is also, I wish I had more time to get into it. I will get into it. When it says Vayhi Erev, Vayhi Boker, this is the way of saying a 24-hour period. Vayhi Erev means there was an evening, which began, or there was a period of a 12-hour period which began in the evening and lasted until Boker, until the morning. And then there was a 12-hour period which began in the morning and lasted until the following evening. Vayhi Erev, Vayhi Boker is speaking about a 24-hour period broken into two 12-hour periods, evening to morning, and then morning until the following evening. Okay? I'm going to end it at this. I'm sorry we didn't get to the rest of the stuff. We will get to the rest of the stuff next time, hopefully. We'll start the Torah study earlier, but I think this was important. I cannot emphasize enough, Mauricio, that how can I explain this? Your point of view, in my strong opinion, is coming from too literal a reading into the words of the Torah. The words of the Torah are not literal; they're contextual, and words can mean different things in different contexts. It is our job as Karaites, it is our job as students of Torah and students of biblical Hebrew to figure out which meaning is meant. And I think it's 100% clear. I mean, I don't think anyone would argue that the meaning of the word Yom, in the case of Yom Kippurim, and I can also show you in the case of Passover, is 24-hour period from evening to evening. And I would say that when it's speaking about days in general, in other words, the 8th day of the month, the 9th day of the month, the holidays, the Shabbat, etc., it also has the same meaning. And we can actually, let me put it in more straightforward terms, we can actually extrapolate that if it's speaking about, if Yom HaKippurim is a holiday, is one of the Chagim, is one of the Moadim, and by the way, Shabbat in Leviticus 23 is listed as one of the Moadim. You could see that at the beginning, okay? These are my appointed festivals. And then the first one is Shabbat, okay? So I can show you. So we know that the Moed called Yom HaKippurim starts in the evening, ends the following evening. I can show you, if we had more time, that it's the same for the first day of Passover. It's clear from the context there. Therefore, we can extrapolate that all of the appointed festivals start in the evening and end in the following evening, okay? And Shabbat is included in the Moedim. It's included as one of the appointed times, as one of the appointed festivals, okay? Shabbat, Festival of Unleavened Bread. Shavuot. This is Shavuot. Shavuot. Yom HaTeruah, the Festival of Trumpets. Yom HaKippurim, and Sukkot. These are all in Leviticus 23. They're all in the same chapter, okay? So we can extrapolate without too much of a stretch of the imagination, boy, oh boy, do I have to go, that if one can be proven to start in the evening and end the following evening, and I can show you that actually two from the context can clearly be proven to start in the evening and end the following evening, because I can show you that Passover also is definitely starting in the evening, and the first day of Chag Matzot, I should say, the first day of unleavened bread is also starting in the evening and ending the following evening. Then we can extrapolate that all of the Moedim, all of the appointed times, Sabbath, Passover, Shavuot, Yom HaTeruah, Yom HaKippurim, and Sukkot, all begin in the evening and end the following evening. And with that, I'm going to end. To be continued, as you said, I will cut the study short, because I want to run to the Beit Knesset, and I will wish everybody a Shabbat Shalom and a Shavuot Tov, to be continued, as you said. Okay? Shabbat Shalom, Shavuot Tov, everybody. Bye-bye.